Good morning everyone. Today I will lecture on vaccination in fin fishes. So I am a class teacher, Dr. Mohammad Abdullah Mahmood. So coming to the introduction, as you know that aquaculture is one of the most promising sector, and it's steadily growing in the world. So aquaculture production has record amounts which is 177.8 million metric ton, now which around 87.50 million tons came from the aquaculture, and near about 90 tons came from the captured fisheries. So most of the captured fisheries coming from the marine productions, and in the aquaculture production is coming from the inland. So if you see that aquaculture production was only 3.9% in 1970 and 29% in 2000, and in 2022 we can see here aquaculture production was 49%. So it is expecting that today, if we consider today in 2025, aquaculture production surpass these aquaculture production surpass these captured fisheries. It may be now 51%, and captured fisheries become 50%. So we can see here that how steadily has been increased aquaculture production day by day. And today, if we see the statistics, that aquaculture production has surpassed the production of the captured fisheries. So in the world, about 600 aquatic species has been found in aquaculture productions, and excluding these, we can see here aquatic plants also contributing 27.3 million metric ton productions. Okay. So if we see that aquaculture production by region, we can see here Asia, Asia has produced most of the part of the aquaculture production, which is near about 90%, and other continents such as America and Europe, we can see here they are contributing very tiny amounts compared to the Asia. And if you see the country-wise productions, the top 10 countries you can see here, the China is a major player with big fishes in the production of aquaculture productions, and India second, then Indonesia, Vietnam, and our Bangladesh. Although we are very small in area, but we are dominating aquaculture production in the world. So if you can see here that China itself contributing more than 60%, and other 9 countries, even they're contributing half of the China's aquaculture productions. So if you can see here that we know that every actions there is equal and opposite reaction. So if you intervene, if you intervene something, if you manipulate something, so something will manipulate you later on. So if you if when the production has been intensified, we can see here that our native monodons nowadays has been wiped out from the aquaculture production because of the disease emergence. So exotic species has been shifted in our aquaculture productions, and for the disease outbreak, we can see here many diseases, our many indigenous species has been eradicated from our native aquatic environments. And this has been happened when the aquaculture system has been transformed to the semi-intensive and intensive systems, even super-intensive. So therefore, there are some problems has been evolved, such as deterioration in the water quality, fall in healthy status of fishes, and prone to disease, and huge economic losses. And nearly many years ago, 40 years ago, or many years ago, that Smith scientist has given this triangle of the disease, and disease has the outbreak when there has been a delicate balance of susceptible host, pathogen, and conducive environment has been lost, and as a result, disease has been outbreak. So when we are telling that delicate balance of the environment, delicate balance of the pathogens and the host, when there is this balance has been lost, and as a result, the disease has been outbreak. So in aquaculture, we know that disease is one of the most challenging issues in the aquaculture, and disease-related problems we can see here: access to disease-free broodstock, and environmental management, and some chemicals. So we are telling that diseases and disease-related problems are the major challenges in aquaculture productions. And if you can see here that bacteria, so we know that many bacterial diseases like Monolinum septicemia, Lactococcus gaurei, so those pathogens are contributing most of the diseases in aquaculture following the viruses, parasites, and fungi. So we know that in every decades or many years past, we can see here the disease, how it has been outbreak. In 1970, we can see here the outbreak of EUS. And in every decade, the emergence of new emerging diseases. In 80s, 2000, we can see here that one of the lethal disease in tilapia lake virus disease, and in shrimp, early mortality syndrome. So this has been outbreak in every decade. So we are expecting that in future also more disease will outbreak in aquaculture sectors. So what we can do when the disease has been outbreak? So we have some measures to combat diseases like chemotherapeutics and non-chemotherapeutics. And we know that in chemotherapeutics we have the few options like antibiotics and chemicals. And antibiotics is always discouraged in the world. As we know that antibiotics applications has severe and negative impacts not only in the environment but also in the human health. So it is the antibiotics which are discouraged most in the aquaculture productions because these antibiotics has multiple negative impacts, like it can increase the resistance of the bacteria, and some of the residues can come to the fish muscles or fish body, and when we consume those fishes, those antibiotic residues can transfer to our human body. So therefore, these antibiotics and other chemicals are not welcome, are not encouraged in the aquaculture, in the aquatic drugs. So we have other options like non-chemotherapeutics, probiotics, prebiotics, and herbal components, although these are nowadays commercially applied in many aquaculture producing countries. But there are some criticism also with these non-chemotherapeutics because we are assuming that these are not effective at all sometimes. When there is a virulent pathogens outbreak in the aquaculture when we are culturing the fishes, against those virulent pathogens, these non-chemotherapies are not at all effective against those diseases. And we have another options of vaccinations. Okay, vaccines can be useful for sustainable aquaculture. And if you know that what is vaccine, many years ago, ELIS has been defined vaccines as preparation of antigens derived from the pathogenic organisms. So you know that pathogenic organism which can produce disease, and from this has to be non-pathogenic by various means. We know that by formalins or by heat inactivations, which will stimulate the immune system in such a way as to increase the resistance to disease from the subsequent infections. So the main philosophy of vaccination is when we are injecting pathogens for animals against those pathogens, this host must have the memory cells when another exposure will come. And the word vaccines came from the Latin word vacca, which means cow. And nowadays, the vaccinations, we know that vaccination is nothing but the intentional administration of vaccines. And vaccinology is a recent term used by Salk and Soft in 1977, used in recently. So if I tell you the modern history of vaccinations, started when the Christopher Columbus, when he came from the Europe to the United States of America. Now, at that time, when he came to the United States, he not only came himself, but he carried all the germs from Europe to America. So that time we can see many Native Americans. Not now Americans is now mixed tribe. We can see here there are whites. Even current president Donald Trump, you know, he is a German origin. His grandfather name was Frederick Trump. So Frederick Trump, his grandfather name. His grandfather came from Germany. So likewise, all those Native Americans that time, many Native Americans died because of that one disease is called smallpox disease. We know that. So smallpox disease was that time very lethal, and we know that the 5 kings were died because of the smallpox disease. And how this vaccination has been, vaccines has been invented by Edward Jenner. It was that time when he saw that everyone is infected and every family has been dying of this disease, but not those women who are milking from the cow. So he saw that those women are not dying at all, and that they were not suffering severely with this disease. So he had in mind what happened to, what is the reason behind this? So he found that those women were suffering some of the lesions like similar to the smallpox, but those are cowpox lesions. So to another pathogens, not smallpox virus pathogen. So he saw some of the furuncle on the lesions, the women hands. So which is similar to a smallpox patient. Okay. So what happened? He had a great idea that in 1976 he had a boy called James. So he inoculated the cowpox lesions. He had inoculated cowpox lesions to the James skin, so that the pathogens can enter the vascular system of the boy. So James became ill because James was a small boy, 8 years old boy, or maybe 12 years old boy. He became ill of the which disease? The disease is cowpox. Cowpox disease. Okay, cowpox disease, like smallpox disease. So after that, he went to another patient who has been suffering from the smallpox disease. So he taken the germs and again vaccinating the James. Okay, and James become severely ill. But after a few days, he made a full recovery without no side effects. Okay. In 1881, Pasteur suggested the word vaccinations as a tribute to the work of Jenner. Jenner has given the name vaccine inoculation at that time. So what is the principle of vaccinations? If you can see that the main principle is when we have 2 persons or 2 hosts, one is vaccinated and one is not vaccinated. So non-vaccinated persons, if he has been infected by the disease, okay, after treatment he could die or he could healthy. But vaccinated persons or the host is always healthy because of the innate and adaptive immune response and against those pathogens. Okay. So who are the pioneers in fish vaccinations? The first report of fish vaccinations came from Snesko in 1938. But as this report came in Polish language, because Polish language was in Poland, which is only limited persons know this language, so it is not widely spread, and this news become undercover. Okay, and then the C.V. Duff in 1942. You can see here he has been published first report in 1942, and he is regarded as the father of fish vaccinations. Although the first report came from the state school, but all the credit goes to sometimes C.V. Duff, the English scientist. Maybe the English is more dominant that time, could be because of England. So he has been regarded as one of the pioneer scientists in fish vaccinations, not Snesko, although the Snesko reported first in 1938. So if you could see the first vaccination report in India, 1981, and you can see here the first report of the commercial vaccines in 1976, which disease name is enteric red mouth disease. Okay, and the first viral vaccines was commercialized or produced by a Czechoslovak company, Bioveta, in 1982. So vaccine research, if you search today in the searching website, fish vaccinations, there will be more than 10,000 publications will come. but in before 1979, so if you could search only maybe 100 literature could come that time. So we can see here that how much faster or the interest of fish vaccinations in the research community. So today we can see here how many commercial vaccines are available. We can see here 2016 or maybe 2025 nowadays, maybe around 30 plus, or maybe because in every year indigenous vaccinations in many forms. If you just give one bacterial samples to that company, like I have one brochure, okay, so that brochure, this company actually HIPRA, okay, this HIPRA is Spain-based company. So if you give one bacteria, okay, to them, please make vaccines against the bacteria. So they will make you for the country, specific country. So likewise, maybe this number, maybe now 30 or 35 could be, but it was only 2 in 1982. So against, most of the vaccines are against the bacterial disease, okay, not the viral disease. Bacterial disease means against the vibriosis, multivibriosis, tuberculosis, intermediate mouth disease, and other diseases. And these are for the viral disease, stick viremia of carp, infectious pancreatic necrosis, infectious salmon and anemia, infectious hemorrhagic necrosis, viral hemorrhagic septicemia, channel catfish viral disease, grass carp head disease. So these are the viral disease, and major marketing, you can see here, major markets of fish vaccinations are mainly salmon and trouts, and maybe channel catfish, which is cultured in America. And we can see our expanding markets in nowadays. If you see some brochure, there is some brochure with me. So if you can see here, all the brochures, we can see the major marketing in tilapia, sea bream, okay, tarpon, halibut, and this type of fish. But mainly we can tell that main fishes of target organisms are salmon and trouts. Okay, that is the one. So what is the ideal fish vaccines? So fish vaccines have some criteria for ideal vaccines, like sustainability and productions. It should be safe. Okay, it has to be mass applications, cheap and cost effective, easily produced, stable, and easily licensed. So these are some criteria of ideal vaccines. Okay? It should be safe. So this wall map showing which countries are now applied commercial vaccines. We can see here more than 40 countries are applying fish vaccines. Okay, more than 40 countries are applying fish vaccines. The application of commercial vaccines in the world, we can see here that more than 40 countries are commercially applied the vaccines, and for more than 17 fish species, including the salmon and trout, and most of the vaccines are in aquaculture are bacterial vaccines, following only 6 against those viruses. So we can see here in the globally which countries are now commercially applied fish vaccines. We can see here Tasmania, and this is Japan, and these are now superpower, although very small, Israel. Okay, they are also full vaccinating their fishes, and Turkey also, and some of the Nordic countries like Finland, Norway, including Italy, Germany. All these countries are now they're applying commercial fish vaccines. And in if you can see here this South American continents. One country is there. Which country this is? This is Chile, okay? And this is also, they are vaccinating their salmon fishes in Chile. And we can see here United States and Canada, they are also applying commercial fish vaccines. And if you can see here, this yellow color countries, their vaccination is used but not fully implemented. So yellow color is Australia, okay? Mainly Australia, and maybe Morocco or Egypt, this country. And red color countries are under development, including the China. Okay, China is Morocco, and maybe this South American countries, South American countries. So they are under, including Brazil could be. Okay, so they are the vaccines are under development in these countries. Okay. So what are the types of vaccines? There are three types of vaccines. One is inactivated vaccines. So we can see here all the vaccines here. If you read this brochures, all the vaccines, bacterial vaccines, I mean that bacterial vaccines, most of the vaccines are inactivated vaccines. Inactivated vaccines, most of the cases, around 99% bacterial vaccines are inactivated vaccines, and most of them are whole cell vaccines, not subunits vaccines or part of the bacteria. No, most of the vaccines, inactivated vaccines are the whole vaccines. Another kind of vaccines are there, which is called live vaccines, but that should be attenuated. So vaccines have so far only been used experimentally in US for channel catfish against Edwards Lake pylori. Okay, this is not welcome because it has some adverse impact also. So if some of the bacteria it could not be attenuated, so it becomes pathogenic and it can cause more disease accidentally. So that's why attenuated vaccines are not, or live vaccines are not using in most of the cases. So another vaccines is there, which is DNA-based, DNA technology-based vaccines. So only 3 vaccines are licensed today for like horse against West Nile virus, a dog against melanoma vaccines, and salmon against infectious hematopoietic necrosis virus. So as you know that in EU there is a regulations, the products obtained from animals fed with genetically modified or treated with genetically modified medicinal products will be subjected to illegal in European Union. So as you know that European Unions are advanced technology-based countries. Those countries even not welcome those DNA vaccines. So that's why these are very limited. What is the principle of DNA vaccines? You know that pathogens. So pathogens DNA has been isolated, extracted, and these pathogens DNA has been recombined in another bacteria like maybe E. coli, and the E. coli has been produced in mass productions, and this E. coli infected with the pathogens DNA, and it injected to the fishes. So as you know that the animals, fish, these fish may be not genetically modified, but it fed with something which is genetically modified. So accordingly, if that fed with genetically modified or treated with genetically modified medicinal products will be illegal in EU. That's why these DNA-based vaccines are not applied in many parts of the world. Only 3 vaccines are licensed today, and which all the vaccines are in US and Canada, not other countries. No, Europeans have not licensed this DNA-based vaccine. Okay. According to the types of administrations, vaccines are 3 types. Injection vaccinations. Injection is given either intraperitoneal or intramuscular. When there is intraperitoneal in the cavity, it's called intraperitoneal, and most of the injection vaccines are intraperitoneal. And if you compare that vaccines which are effective, either injections or immersions or oral, so we can see here injection vaccine is far effective than the immersion and the oral. So we can see here that a person can vaccinating by machines 1,000 to 1,200 individuals, while machines can vaccinating around 7,000 to 900 fish per hour. Okay. And another types of vaccine is there, oral vaccines, and oral has many kinds, many types, such as unprotected antigens, which is whole cell vaccines. Another is called bioencapsulations. Okay, Another is plant-expressed vaccines, microbial biofilms, microencapsulations. So thing is that why we have multiple kinds of oral vaccines? Why? Because these vaccines, if I already I have explained that if you just given the wholesale vaccines to the fish, and as you know that fish intestine is highly acidic, like animals, like humans. So those intestinal ACL or acidic environments digested those antigens, whole bacteria, and it could not reach to the hindguard, and it is the hindguard or posterior guard where the immune induction has been created. Okay, so that's how we have produced some kinds of mechanisms like bioencapsulations or microbial biofilms. So biofilms, we know that biofilms is some extra polymerase matrix produced by the bacteria in adverse situations. So that biofilms, while it has covered by the extra polymeric matrix of the bacteria, that matrix could digested in the intestine, and some of the bacteria could reach in the hindguard or posterior guard of the fishes. So this is the principle of biofilms or bioencapsulation or microencapsulation. Got my point? So, and oral vaccination has some importance also. We can see here oral vaccinations not only induced the mucosal immunity, and this is gut paste which is called mucosal immunity, and this is called vascular immunity. So in injection vaccination we can see here that mucosal immunity or mucosal stimulations is very less compared to the oral vaccinations. So there are some negative and both positive impact of oral vaccinations. Although oral vaccines are very less effective compared to injection vaccinations, but it has also one positive impact that it stimulates both vascular and mucosal immunity. But in the injection vaccine, it will induce only the vascular immunity. So another kinds of vaccines is there, hyperosmotic infiltrations, direct immersion, spray, deep. We can see here hyperosmotic infiltration means, so in fish are kept in one kind of hyperosmotic infiltration means keeping in fish in a sodium chloride solutions, and later on they are putting in the vaccine products. So there are another kinds, direct immersions. Okay, spray like fish, all the fishes are kept in the spray with the volume of the water is very less, and directly are spraying the in the fish body. So the fish intake the vaccines through the nose, or maybe gills, or maybe mouth, or maybe through the body. So it is called spray type of immersion vaccinations. And we can see here deep is another type of immersion vaccinations, and bath and ultrasounds. So all these types having some positive and negative impact, like ultrasounds. So the negative thing is that it requires huge expensive machines for the ultrasound immersion type vaccines. So this is also not, that's why immersions vaccines like ultrasound may be effective, but it needs highly sophisticated machines. So the final slides of the presentation, we can say that Norwegian summer industry is the best example of benefit of vaccinations. So if you can see here that in 1980s, tons of antibiotics in 1980s could be 10 tons in 84. So tons of antibiotics has been applied in Norwegian summer industry in early days like 1980s. So today we can see here the application of vaccines like vibriosis vaccines, bronchiolitis, and oil-based vaccines, and some of the combined vaccines. The productions of the application of antibiotics not only reduced drastically, but also some production has been increased tremendously. And today we can see here that that survival was remarkable. And today 10% of aquaculture production comes from the vaccinated fish. So this is the success story of vaccinations in aquaculture industry. Norwegian salmon industry has set up a milestone that fish vaccination could be a successful venture in aquaculture industry. So this is tremendously impacted many other countries, including European countries. That vaccination not only reduced the application of what? Application of antibiotics. Tons of antibiotics has been reduced nowadays, you can see here. And not only these, but also the production can enhance by the application of, you can see the production was very low, although they are given tons of antibiotics, but production was low when they applied vaccinations. We can see a drastic increase of the aquaculture production, and this happened also in the Norwegian and in the Iceland aquaculture production also. We can see in the Iceland in 90s, we can see tons of antibiotics, kgs of antibiotics used in Iceland aquaculture productions. And when they employed some of the vaccinations like against atypical bronchiolitis and winter ulcers, so we can see here from that 450 kg antibiotics application that time, it has been reduced drastically. Okay, when they employed vaccination against atypical bronchiolitis, winter ulcers, cold water vibriosis, and against vibriosis and atypical mouth disease. So you can see here the tons antibiotic uses has been reduced significantly. So that's all about fish vaccination for today. Okay? Yeah, thank you. Thank you.